Hello and welcome to this first lecture of a new section on requirement gathering in this course on IT product management. So in this section, we will help you learn how to gather requirements for your product as a part of managing your product itself. And in this particular lecture, we will talk about how can you collaborate with various stakeholders like customers, sales, marketing, engineering teams, and gather and document the detailed product requirements. It's all about gathering detailed product requirements and documenting them, collaborating with the different stakeholders. So as you see, the requirement gathering requires two steps in the whole process. First is to collaborate with your various stakeholders, including customers, sales, marketing, and engineering teams, and gather and document those product requirements. So plain gathering of requirements through various stakeholders. And the second step is where requires analysis is to translate these customer requirements needs into clear and actionable user stories or what is called specifications for the development team. So we start translating into the language that either the marketing or the development team understands better, right? So these are the two steps involved in this requirement gathering. Now, so let's look at the first step. So how would you collaborate with your stakeholders to gather and document the detailed product requirements? Any thoughts? See, this is an important step where you collaborate with your stakeholders, including customers, sales, marketing, and engineering teams, when you gather and document detailed product requirements. And this is a first critical step in the product development process in terms of actual implementation. Now, when you collaborate effectively with these stakeholders, that ensures that the product that is developed is meets user needs, aligns with your business goals, and is technically feasible. Now, how can you do that? There are a few steps that you see here in the next couple of slides, and let's go through each one of them one by one. The first step is to identify the key stakeholders, obviously. Those stakeholders who would be involved in requirement gathering process. Now, these would typically include, as we've been talking, your customers or high-end users of the product or services, the sales teams, the marketing teams, and the engineering team. And you consider involving, if you are not the product manager, then you start involving the product manager as well. So product manager, if you are a product manager, obviously you need to be involved in this. You need to actually own the process. Next, what you need to do is to define clear objectives for the requirement gathering process. So what is it that you want to achieve at the end of this process? What are you trying to achieve? And what you need to ensure is that everyone understands the purpose of gathering detailed product requirements so that you get an aligned and cooperative response across each stakeholder. Then you organize collaborative workshops or meetings with the representatives of each stakeholder group. Now, these sessions can be held in person or virtual, depending on the location of the teams, obviously, right? Now, then you do, once you have the internal meetings done from each stakeholder group, then you conduct customer interviews or you do surveys. So to directly gather inputs from the end users, the people who actually going to use your product services at the end of your development. And there you asked about what pain points do they face, what are their specific needs and expectations from this product. So this is what the first 3-4 steps are. Then you involve sales and marketing teams in the requirement gathering process who can provide insights into customer feedback, market trends, and competitive analysis. Next in line comes this engineering feasibility assessment, where you engage engineering teams early in the process itself. That is extremely useful from design and development purpose. So you engage the engineering teams early in the process to assess the technical feasibility of the proposed feature. So whatever features you will consider building based on the requirements, these engineering teams can vet the feasibility of that, and they provide inputs on implementation challenges also. Then you go on to document the requirements systematically, use a standardized format such as user stories, use cases, or a requirements definition document to capture the details required. And these include functional and non-functional requirement. Actually, there are three types of requirements: business requirements, user requirements, and system requirements. So you capture all of them. Then you collaboratively prioritize requirements with input from all the stakeholders. So you sit together in a room probably based on your environment in the company, and you prioritize these requirements. And in that you consider factors such as business impact, user value, and technical complexity, right? You then conduct regular review meetings with stakeholders to validate and refine the requirements as necessary. And this is not a one-stop work, it's a continuous process. And you ensure that they are aligned with the product vision and they meet the user needs. You create prototypes or mock-ups of the products to visualize the requirements. So you are not creating the actual products, but only the mock-ups to visualize the requirements. If possible, some drawings or actual mock-ups. What this helps is in the stakeholders better understanding how the final product will look and function, right? Because otherwise it's all words, and words can be interpreted the way each one of them wants to feel. Then you establish a continuous feedback loop with stakeholders throughout the requirement gathering process. You encourage open communication and be receptive to their inputs as and when they keep coming in. In cases where stakeholders have conflicting requirements or priorities, you facilitate discussion and negotiation to reach a consensus, a arrived point where everyone is comfortable moving forward. And you do this by focusing on the overall goals and objective, the overarching goals and objective of your product development. That's where the vision and the product objectives that you set comes in handy. Use version control for requirements documentation to track changes and update, because those will keep happening in IT environments especially. And this ensures that everyone is working with the latest information. You maintain traceability of between requirements and their sources, who has said when, who has given this requirement specifically. So maintaining traceability is important. And you make sure that each requirement is linked to a specific customer needs. Three things: customer need, a business goal or market insight that drove its inclusion, right? Uh, then, whenever possible, you validate requirements directly with the end users through usability testing or user acceptance testing. This will ensure that the product meets the expectation. Now, this is done at much later stage when you have actually developed the product, but this is a validation process that you keep in the mind. And expect that the requirements you need to accept that and expect that requirements will evolve over a period of time as the product development progresses. And that's why agile methodology comes very handy, as we will see. And you need to be prepared to iterate and adjust the requirements as the new informations become available. Keep the requirements documentation up to date. You need to keep the requirements documentation up to date throughout the product development life cycle. Changes and updates should be well documented and communicated to all the stakeholders. You can use collaborative tools and platforms like Jira, Confluence, Trello to streamline the requirement gathering process and facilitate communication among the stakeholders. So, effective collaboration with stakeholders at every stage of the product requirement process, understanding the gathering product requirement process, helps ensuring that the resulting product will align with the customer needs, business objectives, and technical constraints or the market situation that drove its inclusion. It also fosters a sense of ownership or buy-in from the involved parties, especially the senior stakeholders, which can lead to more successful product development effort and resource allocation. So, having looked at how to collaborate with various stakeholders to gather and document detailed product requirements, what do we do next? In the next, we will look at how would you translate these customer needs into clear, actionable user stories or specifications for your development team. So thank you so much for watching this first lecture on requirement gathering. I hope you are continuing to learn new things, continuing to enjoy. And I do look forward to see you again in the next lecture. If you have any questions, do feel free to message me. I'll be happy to answer your questions. If you need to refer back to anything that I've said, please download the PDF file and take a look at them and stay connected.